Good evening. Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of the StrosBros podcast. You have myself, Jerry Morrison, here alongside me. Like always, is my good buddy, Taylor Cotton. Taylor, how are you?
Doing good, brother man. Doing good. Getting excited for this trade deadline that we have 48 hours away. So it's going to get real exciting in the next 2 days.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And for all the viewers out there, hopefully you guys enjoyed our first inaugural episode that we had a couple days ago. We're going to try to roll one out every 2 or 3 days or so. That's kind of the goal. Based that that's coinciding with both Taylor and I's work schedule, but we try to get them out as often as we can. But before we do our dive into our topics for the day, don't forget to hit that like and that subscribe button that you see down at the bottom of the screen. Helps people find the content and the StrosBros channel and helps allow our community continue to grow. Also, P.S. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the new video intro that I had made. So got that thing rolling. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And yeah, we'll just go ahead and jump right in. So we're going to kind of give everybody a recap of where we're at currently with the trade deadline, who's been acquired, where they've gone, and then who's still left available, on the table. Potentially that could still be a good fit for the organization. So Taylor, what do you have pulled up right now? So what are you looking at?
So, looking at my trade targets that I was the most interested in, Luis Castillo. He is now a Mariner, so that's been a pretty big change. Good move for them. I am happy that he is no longer going to be a Yankee as he potentially could have been. Um, but all signs are pointing to the Astros are going to acquire Josh Bell. It's been out there on the internet, Twitter world, a lot of the, big podcasters, a lot of the, big writers have said that with Jim Crane and James Click, that they're going to be going after and making that offer that the Nationals will accept. And I would expect Josh Bell to be hitting in the middle of our lineup maybe as soon as Wednesday. So that'd be pretty exciting. Let's hope it comes to fruition. It's got to happen first, but that's looking more and more likely. So now kind of basically where I've been kind of setting my sights on is bullpen help. They've been going after looking at left-handed relievers. There's a lot of relievers on the market. It's a little bit saturated that way, which is nice. The first one that I kind of have pulled up on my board, we had talked about a little bit about it. Maybe potentially looking at his name is David Bednar. He's a closer for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Does have a lot of control. It's been said that the Tigers, or excuse me, that the Pirates are listening on David Bednar, but I think that if the Astros, could put together a package of prospects that would be interested to the Pirates, I think we might be able to get an additional fiery arm in our bullpen. Um, what do you know about David Bednar? I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't really know a whole lot about him, but was he an all star? I know they had an all star that was there, but I can't remember if it was a right handed reliever or a left handed reliever.
Now he was an all-star this year, so you were
Yeah,
correct on that. Now he is a right-handed thrower. You're talking about a guy. You're talking about a guy so far this year. He's pitched in 40 games. He's got 17 saves, so he's pitched a little over 46 innings. In those 46 innings, he's got a 63 strikeouts. So This dude gets people to swing the bat and miss. And his WHIP right now is a 1.07. So he's pretty nasty. He's definitely an all-star this year with Pittsburgh. Right-handed thrower, but like we talked about in the last episode, I don't think you can ever have enough pitching, whether that be starter or in the bullpen.
yeah, I agree. I mean, that's really kind of been the separator for the teams that have made it as far as they have. Like, I mean, Atlanta, the World Series last year, dude. Like, I almost wanted the starters to stay in because I didn't want to get to their 7, 8, and 9 guys, right? I mean, like Matzik was disgusting. Like we could not touch that dude.
It
Um,
was Yeah.
I mean, it was brutal. Like I was almost like, no, don't take, you know, your pitcher out, and then Morton got hurt, and when Morton got hurt, I was like, oh, dude, we may actually have a shot at this, and needless to say, we didn't. So now there's actually a left-handed arm that I looked up earlier today. I'm gonna pull him up. He's with the Diamondbacks. Let's see. Yes. So Joe Mantiply.
Yes, I've heard that name.
Yeah. So all right. So for those of y'all who haven't heard of this guy, whoops, that's not what I wanted to click. So Mantiply was an All Star this year. He's a left-handed arm. Let me see. I'm trying. I thought I was going to pull up his baseball reference, but it didn't. Here we go. All right. So baseball reference. Dude, I cannot get this to pull up. I don't know why it's doing this.
All right, I got you here. All right, so Joe Mantiply this year, you're looking at he's pitched over 38 innings. He's currently has
Here we go.
he's thrown for 2 saves, 38 strikeouts with a 1.01 WHIP. So he misses bats too. Now I don't. Now is this guy their closer or is he in their late relief?
No, so he's not a closer. I think he's like their eighth inning guy. I think he's more of like a setup. I don't see if he has. It's not showing us on here on the initial standard pitching stats if he has any holds. It just shows he has 2 saves, but I would assume he's probably a seventh or eighth inning guy. But that's really what we need is a good left-handed bridge arm that can get us to our 8 and 9 and pretty much like Montero, Neris, and Presley. So I mean, not to mention like hypothetically, if we do end up playing New York, having a good quality left-handed arm like that to get us to stretch into those later innings, I think would be crucial in terms of adding depth to an already disgusting staff that we have. So
Absolutely. And that's been the one thing that we've just been lacking is, I mean, our guys have done good at getting some left-handed hitters out,
mm-hmm.
but, having that strong lefty on lefty, it's been something that James and those guys over there in Houston have identified as a clear need. Ken Rosenthal was on MLB Network earlier today and and Jim Bowden was as well. And they were talking about, or excuse me, Jeff Passan. Jeff Passan. I forget his name because I'm not really a big fan of Jeff Passan. But he was coming out there. He had identified that the Astros were the front runner for Josh Bell, and that we were very much looking at left-handed relief pitching. Um, and which also brings me, and I tell you, with Arizona, they're kind of in that limbo. They do have some pieces, some controllable pieces that you could take a look at. Um, and for this guy that you're talking about, Joe
Yeah, I
Mantiply,
think I think we would still have him for 2 more years.
there you go.
Yeah.
So now, since he's, tends to be the valuation, at least how these GMs do it with these relievers, if they're a closer, they tend to put a little bit more of a premium in terms of the prospect package that they get back. I don't think that Arizona's looking for, major league help right now. They're kind of going through a little bit of a soft rebuild. So it would be, more of like a prospect pitching, a prospect package centered is what it would probably be more built around.
Yeah, I mean they just traded away David Peralta, who's one of their better outfielders. So he's gone. But I know us. The last thing I had heard was it was us and the Mets were in big on Mantiply right now. So
Absolutely.
because I know that the Mets
And
need another left-handed arm too.
the thing is that it works double when granted that the Mets are in a different league, but if you can take away an opponent, a potential World Series opponent, if you could take away from them, that's just all the better. I mean, the Mariners did us a huge favor by acquire future, just because the way that the Astros are playing this year, I don't know if it's going to be this year for them. It might, but there's still time. Like we said, it's going to be crazy this next 48 hours. It's going to be nuts. We're going to have a lot to talk about on episode 3 for sure. Right now we're just kind of, Sunday is kind of like that calm before the storm. Am a little bit surprised that somebody, Luis Castillo was probably the third, and he's definitely the top pitcher that was available, but he was probably the third overall because, all the Juan Soto stuff that's going on. And now apparently Shohei Ohtani's available. So um, it's going to be really exciting to see what's going to happen, next 2 days.
Yeah, I mean, and we still have, Josh Bell is still, I feel like, in agreement with you. That's kind of like our number one guy that we need to go after. But I mean, there's still Molly from Cincinnati also that that we could look at acquiring. I mean, dude, Frankie Montas is still out there. I mean, no one's signed him yet. You know what I mean? I know that there's still some questions with the shoulder, but I mean, dude, he just shoved against us for 7 innings, and he was still throwing
Yeah.
95, 96. I mean, his stuff's there. I mean, I would much rather see him in an Astros uniform than him going to New York or L.A.
If you can keep him from going to your primary competition, that's just all the better. Um, Now let me run this name by you. See if you remember this one. Interesting, and he's a left-handed reliever. Uh, Interesting name that came up yesterday as being potentially available and that they're willing to listen to. Josh Hader. Now, for those of y'all that don't remember Josh Hader, now the names are escaping me. Remember the center field and pitcher trade that we made, including you're muted again.
Sorry, it was Carlos Gomez, and I don't remember who else it was.
The Mike Fires,
Oh, that's right.
dirty little cheese eating rat. So we traded Josh Hader and a couple outfielders for Carlos Gomez and for Mike Fires. So now the Brewers are, they're kind of they're in like third place right now in their division. So they're, considering listening, for some controllable pieces for Josh Hader. So what would you say about that?
Well, I don't think they're in third place in the Central. I think they're in first because I know they're
Wow.
ahead. I know they're ahead of St. Louis. I would honestly, I would say, I doubt that they would trade Hader away because him and Devin Williams have been like a tremendous 1-2 punch. Not to mention, Hader has had kind of like a similar injury laden career that Chris Sale has had, just because of that funky, awkward delivery. I mean, dude, like, there's a ton of people that we can go after. We can still look at trying to acquire Carlos Rodon. You know what I mean? Like, if the Giants end up being sellers, I mean, they're only 4.5 games out of the wild card, but are they really in contention? I don't think they are. So they may be looking to sell.
Yeah.
I mean, and Carlos Rodon would be a good piece, man. 95 starting rotation guy from, he'd be a third or fourth starter, you know, in a rotation where we could go right, right, left, right. You know what I mean? In a 7-game series. So, I mean, and he does have playoff experience. Now, I don't know. I don't really know or remember the terms of his contract that he signed. I don't think it was like an exuberant amount of AAV. And for those of y'all listening, AAV is just the annual average value per year, basically, is what we're discussing. So, for those of y'all who don't know what AAV is, that's what we're talking about. So,
Exactly.
Hey, man, you got to educate them, right? But yeah, I mean, because I don't have the browser open right now, but if you can find his contract, I'd be curious to know what he has remaining.
I'll have to pull it open. Um, so we've kind of gone over, we've gone over the Josh Bell, we've gone
Hmm.
over a couple relievers. Have you heard? I've heard that we've been looking at, maybe adding a center field bat with control. Have you heard anything like that or seen anything like that recently?
No, the only thing that I've heard was what you had shared with me, and that was about Reynolds from Pittsburgh. But I don't really know a lot about the guy. I know that people are interested in acquiring Siri. Yeah, I've read several articles about that. I know people are interested in Urquidy. I know people are also interested in McCormick. So I know that we're shopping those guys now. Where they fit in terms of organizations, I don't really know. I haven't done an extended amount of research to figure out where I think they could be good fits. I know the Marlins are looking for outfield help. And I know the Marlins have some good bullpen arms too. I mean, dude, I think the Marlins are in the top half in bullpen ERA, and I know that they have some pretty decent starting, pieces too. So, but yeah, I mean Reynolds. I'm trying to think.
Another name that I've recently heard is, so with Reynolds, they had come out and said that they're not necessarily, maybe not willing to give up uh, Reynolds right now. Now, maybe that's just they've received some offers from some GMs that maybe they're just kind of using that as a negotiating tactic to try to get more, because of course you would, because that's kind of how these things work is like as we get closer to that deadline, all these GMs that are selling players, they trying to maximize the value as much as they can by holding everybody together. But what I've heard is that the Pirates right now are looking for uh, more major league ready help. Um, but maybe say somebody like, or excuse me, they're looking for more prospect type help. Now the Orioles are looking for something more major league ready. So like when you're talking about a Urquidy, or talking about a Jose Siri, they have a center fielder, Cedric Mullins. It's a left-handed bat. He's having a pretty good year so far. I mean, got he's got 42 RBIs, OPS 700. He's slugging almost 400. He's hitting 256, but when you compare that to what we're getting out of our center fielders right now, it is a it is a pretty significant improvement on what we are on right now. I mean, Jake Myers today, I mean, I'm pretty sure his last 72 at bats, he's like batting like 120. So it's center field has been something that we have been rumored of going after, but we've been looking at doing something for control, because I don't think you're giving up somebody with that much control and who's upped his value, or talking about one of our pitchers like your Quiddy or Luis Garcia for a rental piece. So like I don't think any of those guys are involved with a Josh Bell, or even like a Joe Mantiply. I think that those would be the kind of pieces that you're going after, like a Brian Reynolds or a Cedric Mullins, an outfielder with multiple years of control.
So here's a name that I haven't really heard a lot of, but what about Quintana?
Quintana,
Jose
starting,
Quintana.
yeah, the starting pitcher, the guy that used to be on the White Sox, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now I mean, dude, he only has $650,000 left on his contract to be paid.
You know, I, I have not I have not followed him a whole lot, since since the White Sox let him go. But is he having a pretty decent year this year?
Hmm. Yeah, he is. Let me see here. Quintana. Let's see. Jose Quintana, baseball. All right. So this year, Quintana. Yeah, dude. I mean, he's his whip's a 1.27. Again, he's with
Okay.
Pittsburgh. Okay, so keep that in mind. So he's pitching for the Pirates. He's currently 3-5 in 20 games started. So he has a lot of no decisions, and he's pitching with a
Okay.
3.5 ERA.
All right.
103 innings pitched. Like I said, a 1.27 WHIP, which
Okay.
is substantially and it's a substantial improvement from when he was with the Angels.
Well, there
So
you go.
I mean, he
But
has.
it's
This is the first time he's thrown over 100 innings in three seasons.
so the only question I would ask is, does that give you more? Because we are going to have Lance McCullers coming back. We don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if you watched Odorizzi's start. He threw 7 shutout today. So does it make sense to trade for Quintana, who probably gives you what you're getting from a Jake Odorizzi right now? I mean, I don't know if that moves the needle. Like if I'm James Click, I don't know if trading for Quintana changes the needle. Now, Joe Mantiply, I'm all over that with you. I think that's a needle mover. I think that's a legitimate improvement. So depending upon what the Diamondbacks want, but with Quintana, it's more along the lines of we're kind of already getting that from Odorizzi and Urquidy. And I was doing some double checking. You were correct. I was way off. So the Brewers are in first place, but the reason they're talking about that Josh Hader might be expendable right now is because they have a young rookie that's come up that is actually pitching really, really, really well for them at the back end of their bullpen. So it's kind of like our situation right now with our starting pitching,
Mm-hmm.
where so I apologize for being wrong on that, but it's kind of like an opportunity for them to, since they have an embarrassment of riches at the bullpen piece, maybe using that to get some pieces that for now.
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, I've even heard like Daniel Bard from Colorado, David Robertson. I would love to have Michael Fulmer, dude, from Detroit.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, dude, like since last season. So listen to this.
Okay.
Since last season to now, he said 84 appearances and has held his ERA to 2.6 in
Wow.
his last 84 appearances.
That's pretty nails.
Yeah. Yeah, so like they traded Peralta. Sorry, I'm going through like these top 30.
Hmm.
Oh, I mean Martin Perez. I just don't know if the Rangers are going to want to get rid of him.
Yeah, Texas is kind of a mystery to me because they also were rumored as being a dark horse candidate for Juan Soto. They're it's at this point in the season, it's not out of reach for them to catch the Mariners. So that's what's making this whole thing just kind of weird. Is there's so many more teams that are considered buyers right now because of the extra play-in game. So it's kind of messed up a little bit. I mean, you have your clear, of course on the AL side, you have your Yankees and you have us, right? Just like on the National League, you have the Dodgers and like the Mets. But you have all these other teams like on the AL side, the Mariners are up there. The Mariners are up there. You have Chicago up there. I just had the standings pulled up and then I pulled them away. Um, but like on the National League, you have the Brewers, you have the Cardinals, you have quite a few, teams that are in contention. So that's why it's going to be real interesting to see. We're going to have a lot more things to talk about. We're going to have like, because you and I talked about it as a topic for episode 3. We're going to talk about, how these teams look, how they stack up, right after this trade deadline.
Yeah, I think too. So I was listening to Front Office earlier this morning, and it was Jim Bowden and Jim Duquette, both who are
Love it.
former GMs. I think Jim Duquette used to be GM for Baltimore, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, one of the things they were saying is typically in the last 48 hours of the trade deadline, even till like the last minute that you have to submit these offers to the commissioner's office. I mean, he's like relief pitchers. He's like it's crazy how many deals come in just in the last couple of hours, and it's typically all relief arms. And he said, that's something that he would be looking out for, is how many relievers get moved within that last 3-4 hour span of the trade deadline. So, I mean, I think it's kind of like we're kind of going to start seeing the snowball effect, run its course over the next 2 days. But I would expect the Astros to definitely finalize that deal with Bell, and I also would expect probably 1 or 2 more after that to be coming our way. So, but yeah, we do want to move on and jump over to the next topic. And as Taylor said, we'll discuss more about like a trade deadline recap, once it's all, wrapped up and fully completed and all the deals have come through. But one of the things we wanted to talk about as well, and this will be our final topic for the evening, is, if playoffs were to start today, or excuse me, if there's any teams in the wild card race right now that we could see making a move and having a solid run through the playoffs, who that would be, and who could potentially get hot at the right time. So Taylor, I guess we'll start with the National League. So tell me kind of what you're looking at there, and who you think could be primed to make a run.
Oh, the team so on the National League, you have your normal guys. The team that I would probably be the most worried if they made, you could even argue if they made no moves and just kept it as it was going, if they just got hot. The team to look out for would be Atlanta, defending champs. Their lineup is deep. They have great pitching. They're healthy this year, and that whole you lose Freddie Freeman and you just plug in Matt Olson and you don't skip a beat. So that would be the team I think in the National League. Whether they make a move or not is the team to look out for if they get hot at the right time. I'd be really nervous if I was, the Dodgers or the Mets.
Yeah, and I think I think it was like sometime last week they had already cut New York's lead down to like a game and a half that they had pulled within. I don't know what it's at now. I haven't looked, but yeah, I mean, I'm in agreement with you. I mean, for those of y'all who haven't heard of Spencer Strider, go watch the dude throw. He is a rookie. He throws mid upper 90s consistently. His stuff is electric. I mean, the guy, he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's got kind of that it factor. He reminds me a lot of Walker Buehler. He reminds me a lot of oh my gosh, what the name of the guy, was it Alcantara for the Marlins?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
Alcantara.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, just go watch the guy. I mean, his stuff is disgusting, and he's a young talent, and he's going to be, the anchor of that staff moving forward. But yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I mean, I would say if there was a close second, it would be based on if they make any moves before the deadline is up, and that would be Philly. I think if Philly can make the right moves and solidify the right pieces to help out Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, those guys, in terms of the bullpen help, I think they could be, primed to make a run too, because they don't forget Bryce Harper is going to be back. So they'll have Harper, and if Harper gets hot, he can carry that team. And Philadelphia plays with a different kind of, fuel in the fire, so to speak, when Harper's in the lineup and he's producing. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think if there's going to be a major player to come out, it's going to be someone from the NL East. I think that could change if Soto ends up going to St. Louis. And I think that can make things really interesting to see, where the NL East.
What you said about all that stuff that you said about Bryce Harper, Juan Soto did.
Yeah, and I think if he ends up going to St. Louis, that would sway my opinion a little bit more. But as of where we are now, I'm gonna go with Philly, just so we're not saying the same team. But yeah, so what about American League? What American League team do you think could make a run?
Before we go into the American League, I just wanted to add one thing. I did think it was very interesting, considering the Padres right now are the favorites for Juan Soto. You and I didn't even bother to mention, what if Juan Soto days and Fernando Tatis gets healthy? That could be real interesting.
Yeah,
But
and they're in the works of extending Joe Musgrove.
yeah, who's another former Astro, just cranking and going. Okay, so American League. I have a feeling that you and I are going to say the same team as well, in American League, and it's going to come out of the East. So the team, I think that if they make some moves and if they get hot, that I would be really nervous to play. Even as an Astro, I would be really nervous to play, and that's Toronto. Their offense, when they get going, is, I mean, their offense is good enough that it would beat even if they had pitched poorly. They do have some holes, towards like the back end of their bullpen, but I mean, do you need a 8-9? Do you need a 7-8-9 guy to be nails when you can have the potential of scoring like 15, 20 runs? Because
Yeah,
they can do that. 1 through 9 is scary.
yeah. I mean, I could see Toronto getting hot at the right time. I mean, honestly, for anyone that's watching, if you're a Yankee fan, I mean, you can't sit here and tell me that the way the Yankees lineup was hitting the first half of the year is sustainable. If you can tell me that with a straight face, and you've watched enough baseball, and if you've been involved in the game as long as I have, you know that their offense is not sustainable to continue to put up the numbers that they were putting up. And I can prove that point because of what Houston did to them, both at Yankee Stadium and at Minute Maid Park. So it's not that I'm discrediting that they're not a good team. I'm just saying their stats, there's some sort of curve correction that's going to come. And I don't think by the time the season is over that their lead in that division is going to be as big as it is right now. It wouldn't surprise me if Toronto went after another arm to help out that starting rotation. Especially because I think they just lost somebody. I want to say, I want to say it was Kikuchi. I think it was Kikuchi.
Okay.
It was either Kikuchi or Ryu, but they lost one of those guys because I remember hearing about it. But yeah, I mean, just getting another arm to go along with Gossman and Manoah. I mean, Manoah is filthy, dude. Have you watched that dude pitch? He came from West Virginia.
I have not.
I mean, dude, he's built like an offensive lineman throwing, 95, 96 miles an hour. I mean, the dude can pitch. And he was an all-star this year too. So, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I think that they could be primed to make a run. Now, if I could have it my way, I don't think they will, just because I know where their staff is at. But I like how we compete if we end up ever playing like or Tampa Bay, just because those series have typically been pretty close, because they've really come down to the pitching depth. But I know that they have, they have two out of their three best hitters are out. They're both on the IL, and Wander Franco and oh my gosh, what's the other guy's name? Can't remember. But anyway, I know they have two of their three best hitters that are out, and then they've lost also. What's the guy that they got from Pittsburgh? The one who throws 100 miles an hour. I can't remember his name.
It is escaping me as well.
This is gonna bug me. Hold on, audience. I'm gonna figure this out. Tyler Glasnow.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
So Glasnow.
Wait, wasn't Glasnow from the Rays though?
He came from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Yeah, he was acquired from Pittsburgh. Same thing when they traded. They got Austin Meadows from Pittsburgh too.
Oh.
But
yeah, they did load up. I mean, they have some wiry arms there.
And they have McClanahan, who's probably going to win the AL Cy Young. I mean, I think the only way that Verlander beats him out.
AL Cy Young? That's Verlander. That's Justin all day.
The only way Verlander beats out McClanahan is he has to beat him in wins. Because he's not going to beat him out in strikeouts. He has him in WHIP, but he's going to have to beat him in two out of the three categories in order to have a chance. Otherwise, it's McClanahan's race to lose. But that could be, another discussion, for a later episode is, the Cy Young candidates.
We might have a topic, a deep dive into the AL Cy Young favorite, and we can argue resumes back and forth for sure. So we're in agreement then. Toronto now, kind of similar to how we did with the Padres, or we can see the Padres as well. Is there another team maybe in the American League that you think, if they get hot, could jeopardize what's probably going to be Yankees Astros in the CS?
The only way.
I guess the specific question is: are you scared at all, or are you worried about Seattle?
No, not even with the addition of Castillo. If they somehow magically acquire Soto, then yeah, I would be worried. But dude, we just took 3 out of 4 from them. They've only beaten us 3 times this year. Now, I know that's just the regular season, but even with the arms that they have, you know what I mean? Like, they still can't beat us. So what difference is Castillo going to make other than getting them one more win that they wouldn't have already gotten?
Well, I mean, because we put 11, 12 runs on last year's Cy Young winner and Robbie Ray.
Yeah, so like, and Robbie Ray hasn't pitched. He's been a shell of himself. A shell of himself. He hasn't even been what he was when he was with Toronto. So I mean, I don't know, man. Like, it's not. They don't have the same depth that we do. Now their bullpen is good. Don't get me wrong, but it's different. It's a different animal when it comes to the postseason. They have zero experience. They haven't been to the postseason since 2001. Right. So, I mean, like, all those guys a majority of them were in elementary school, dude. Think about that.
Right.
And here, the Astros are potentially going to 6 straight LCSs. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see it in the cards, honestly. I think that a team that could acquire Soto, and potentially a few more pieces and has a starting rotation and some good quality arms would be Cleveland. Now, I mean, the AL Central, man, is still up for grabs. I mean, Minnesota is not that great, if I'm being completely honest. they traded Barrios to Toronto, right? So I mean, and then they acquired Correa. Now Buxton's having a great year, but
Yeah, he is.
I mean, he's not. At the end of the day, you still got to pitch. So, and if history is anything to reference, the Astros play pretty well when we play up in Minnesota. So I'm not overly concerned, with them either. I mean, I would say it's really going to be dependent on where Soto goes. If he goes to an AL team, I don't think it's going to happen. But if it does, if it happened to be Seattle, I'd be concerned.
Well, and Otani too.
Mm-hmm.
If the Angels actually do move Otani, those guys gotta stay in the National League. Let them beat up on each other.
Yeah, I think that I think Otani. I could see Otani honestly going to San Diego if Soto doesn't go,
I'm with you on that,
because
but
he has Darvish, who is from the same country. You know what I
right,
mean? And is basically was the Darvish, or he was the Shohei Otani before there was Shohei Otani, right? Except Darvish wasn't a hitter; he was just a pitcher. But Darvish was that first big name that came out of Japan that crossed over to the MLB, and
correct.
Shohei was kind of the next guy. So I could see him going there and really being a mentor. And they have a great market; they have a great fan base. I mean, shoot, I would root for him.
Tony, he's an interesting case because you know, he wants to win. That's his thing. He wants to win, and I mean, he's been in the big leagues what for 6 years now? Isn't that right? 5.
Yeah, 5 or 6, yeah.
All right. So since he's been in baseball, he's seen what the Astros have done. And if you want to win, I mean, Houston's ready for you.
Taylor, it's a pipe dream, man.
I know. Hey, but a man can dream, right?
Dude, we'd have to give up so much just to get him. I mean, we'd have to give up a legit starter and a legit hitter, because that's what they would be losing at the very minimum, plus prospects. Ooh.
I think it's plus prospects.
Say that again?
I said they would probably request along with prospects. They'd be like, also give us Jim Crane and your unborn child and James Click.
They would probably end up being like, just go ahead and change your entire organization name and location.
Exactly.
Well, awesome, man. Well, I enjoyed it again, guys. Thanks for sticking around with us and watching. Our second episode. We're probably going to air another one. I would say probably Tuesday or Wednesday, because the trade deadline wraps up on Tuesday. So I'd say probably more than likely at the very least it'd be Wednesday. But yeah, other than that, guys, don't forget to share your thoughts. Don't forget to share it out to the rest of the world. And we will see you guys on the next episode. Later.
See you next time.
All right.
Was fun.